After battling the COVID-19 virus for almost 2 years, a new threat looms over mankind. South Africa has reported a new variant, B11529, with large number of mutations. South African authorities detect over 30 mutations to the virus variant. The mutations are associated with increased antibody resistance. This impacts the effectiveness of vaccines. After South Africa announced a new variant, the Union Health Ministry directed all states to sternly screen and test travellers flying in from 3 countries specifically: South Africa, Botswana and Hong Kong. Health Secretary Rajesh Bhushan emphasized that the new variant can have serious health impacts on the country. India has relaxed restrictions for international travellers. States have even been asked to send samples of travellers who tested positive for COVID-19 to all the designated labs. The Indian SARS-CoV-2 Genomics and Sequencing Consortium analyzes variants of concern and interest in India. COVID surveillance officers across all states will coordinate with the labs and carry out track tests to curb the spread of the variant. As visa restrictions have been eased, the UK has decided to ban travel from 6 southern African countries: South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho and Eswatini have been added to the red list. South Africa's new variant has double the number of mutations than the Delta variant. More transmissible, and existing vaccines may well be less effective. Only time will tell whether the world will face the brunt of another global pandemic or learn from past mistakes. Lesotho and to curb the spread of the variant. As visa restrictions have been eased, the UK has decided to ban travel from 6 southern African countries: South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho and Eswatini have been added to the red list. South Africa's new variant has double the number of mutations than the Delta variant. More transmissible, and existing vaccines may well be less effective. Only time will tell whether the world will face the brunt of another global pandemic or learn from past mistakes.
Akuetteh Mameno is expected today to officially launch December as the vaccination month. Now, this move, as we all know, is to encourage Ghanaians to get vaccinated. It's going to be mandatory, for some specific group of persons to get this the vaccine. And they include students, commercial drivers, and their mates. Listen, let me just bring to you a playback of what Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji had to say when he made a press on Sunday about, people who are mandated to go for these vaccines. And of course, for those of you who are still refusing or have not taken the vaccines, there are places you will be prevented from entering. Take a listen to Dr. Patrick Kuma Abuaji.
These are the proposed mandates which we are going to pursue. With the increasing availability of vaccines and reasonable quantity in the pipeline, we are declaring December as the month for vaccination, or let's say vaccination for Christmas. So December is going to be declared as the month of vaccination, and it will be launched by the Honorable Minister on 30th of November 2020. Well, that's Tuesday coming. These mandates, which I'm going to announce, will be applicable in January 2020 at specific groups and mandates as soon as, and this mandate become effective as soon as the campaign is over. We have them in 2 sections. They are going to have proposed groups that will be covered under the mandate and the venues. We are looking at all the 3 arms of government. All health workers have been given the opportunity to vaccinate, and they stay in a very strategic position that either they can share among themselves or give to their patients. So that's why we prioritize that. All security personnel will be covered. They should be vaccinated. All staff and students in secondary and tertiary schools should be vaccinated. And so secondary schools are being given the opportunity. Started last week, Friday, from 27th, almost all regions are doing vaccination of Pfizer in schools. And so in January, you should be fully vaccinated before you come back to school. All workers in government institutions and state house, all commercial drivers and their mates are expected to be vaccinated at the end of that. That's where they're commanded to cover them. There are areas where the mandate to cover, that will be a venue. And this venue for now includes nightclubs, beaches, sports stadium, and restaurants for indoor dining. And these are areas that will mean that you need to be vaccinated before you can go into these venues, and that will be enforced.
So the voice of Dr. Patrick Kumar Abaji, the Director General of the Ghana Health Services there, you heard him. And so we're expecting security persons to get vaccinated. We're expecting health workers to get vaccinated. Students and staff, as well as tertiary lecturers are supposed to get vaccinated. And of course, government institutions workers are supposed to get vaccinated. And if you don't get a vaccine, well, we're told that there are places you cannot visit, like beaches, sports stadium, restaurants, nightclubs, and the like. So you've heard from the Director General, and I just want to know from you what you make of this new measure, this new move to ensure that we curtail and manage properly the spread of the COVID-19. Don't forget that we're inching closer to Christmas, and we all know what happened to us after Christmas of 2020 when we entered into 2021, how our numbers went up. And during that presser, Dr. Patrick Kumar Abaji made mention of the fact that 5.14 Ghanaians have received vaccines, and 21% have taken their first doses, and 7% are fully vaccinated. So it tells you that we still have a very, very long way to go. Now, in terms of details of what the stats are, I've got Eugene or Say22 with me in the studios of Love 97.5. He is our fact checker. Eugene, good morning to you.
David, good morning.
And trust you're well.
God is keeping us.
All right, again, this morning we'll be telling you we'll give you some information about this new variant called the Omicron. It is something that is also wreaking havoc in some countries. Fortunately, we're told that in Ghana, we don't have it yet, but we'll give you some information, some education on it as well. So stay with us. But what do you make of what the Director General has said? Send us your voice notes to 055-1111-995. I'd like to hear from you. 055-1111-995. What do you make of what the Director General of the Ghana Health Service had said over the weekend? So what do you also have for us this morning by way of vaccination in this country?
David, you just made mention of the Omicron, or some say Omicron, Charlie. Whichever way, it depends on the school you went to. So let's keep it like that. The World Health Organization has listed the Omicron as a variant of concern, and has said that it could take several weeks to know if there are significant changes in transmissibility, severity, or implications for COVID vaccines test and treatment. And David, yesterday, Dr. Angela Silvercam of KCC has spoken on Insure FM, and basically what she was saying was that when the new variants are recorded, it takes scientists a lot of time to be able to sequence the genome and all that. And let's not forget that vaccines have already been created in the system. So if there are new variants, there will also be the question to ask whether the new variant or the vaccines already in the system can be able to cure the new variant, the Omicron. And when you read the various species...
Can protect, actually.
Yes, can protect or actually fight the variants. When I'm not an immunologist, but when you read from the WHO, it seems like this one is also, Charlie, a very tough one. And just like the Delta, and I've already said that when you read the Downing theory as a science student, everybody read that, you notice that COVID is, taking every facet of that postulation by Darwin. It's mutating at a very high rate and all that. David, when you go to Australia, they've recorded some part of it. When you go to Italy, and let's state that Italy was the country in Europe which was most hit when COVID struck first, because when you check the population of Europe, Italy has the oldest population, and their hospitals were full. People were being treated on the corridors of hospitals and all that, in churches. It was crazy in Italy. When you go to Germany, and currently, when you check the fourth wave in Europe, the country that is most hit is Germany. when you go to the Netherlands, when you go to the UK, when you go to Israel, when you go to Hong Kong, in Africa you have Botswana, when you go to Belgium, when you go to Switzerland, when you go to Canada, so at least 11 countries have recorded this Omicron. David, let's not forget that Ghana's first 2 cases that were recorded, I think on the 12th of March 2020, was from Norway. So it was imported. So let's be careful, especially when you are coming through the Christmas, a lot of family relations and all that. Be careful. And at a point where Botswana has also recorded one, and I'm also hearing that South Africa, I don't know, almost all the new variants start from that country. They should check it. And also, it's understandable because when you check the demography of South Africa, there are a lot of white people there, even post the apartheid regime, a lot of business interests and all that. So there's a lot of travels when it comes to that country. And it's also serves as a major transition point from Africa to most of these European countries, Asia and all that. Now, when it comes to Ghana's vaccination regime, David, nothing has changed from the last time we spoke on COVID. Still, we have 3,493,688 people being vaccinated as of November 18, 2021. Now, David, this is strange, and I say strange based on a lot of reasons. Before I even come to that, Ghana's estimated population, as according to the Ghana Statistical Service, is 31,742,357. The reason why we say 30.8 million is that there will be some more pop that will be due to show up the number. Now, our targeted population when it comes to vaccination was 20 million. For the adult population, because then the literature was that those who were below, I think, 15 years cannot be vaccinated, and pregnant women can also not be vaccinated. So when you do all those mathematics and you remove them, the adult population was around 20 million. Now, as I'm saying, we've done 3,493,688. Now, when it comes to the fully vaccinated, we have done just 842,225. Fully vaccinated means that those who've either taken the 1 shot of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine or those who've taken the 2 shots of either Pfizer, either Moderna or AstraZeneca. Now, when it comes to those who've taken at least a dose of the vaccine, we have 2,820,092. So when you do the mass of the population of 20 million, when it comes to fully vaccinated, we've done just 4.2%. Ask yourself, if your child writes exams and bring 4.2%, will you be happy? When it comes to at least those who've taken a vaccine, we've also done 14.1%, which is woefully inadequate. Now, David, when it comes to the vaccines in the system, and Sunday when I was listening to Dr. Kumabwaje, I was shocked. David, do you know that Ghana, though we've done 3.4 million, we've done just around 840 fully vaccinated. We've done some 2.3 million with a single shot. We have 12.3 million doses of vaccine in the system.
And these vaccines can expire.
Exactly, and David, let me even give you the right figure because one vaccine cry is important. We have 12,324,710 million vaccines in the system. Now, when it comes to the AstraZeneca, we so far received 5,619,470. When it comes to the Johnson & Johnson, which is 1 shot regime, we've received so far 2,388,050. When it comes to Moderna, we received 1,229,620. When it comes to the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine, we've also received 3,066,570. When it comes to the Sputnik V, which is from Russia, we received 21,000 because the contract was cancelled. So we received this, which was like a test swab for us. Now, when you tally all that, it's 12.3 million. And interestingly, David, we've just distributed some 7.1 million of them. So the remaining vaccines in the system is a whopping 5.2 million. So I kept asking myself, so if you have all these vaccines in the system, and David, as you said, it can expire. Let's not forget that Ghana was even a beneficiary of that regime. When Congo received 1.3 million, they do not have the cold chain storage system to be able to utilize the vaccines. Ghana received, I think, 600,000. So we should be careful. And people should go for this vaccine.
And that is why Patrick Kumabaji was telling that they are now taking it to the people. They're taking it to the people. So in the villages, they are going to homes. They are going to, even in the cities, they are going to homes. They are going to schools. They're going to the mosques. They're taking the vaccine to the people. And so you hold on for me, Eugene. Let's go onto the phone lines and engage with Dr. Michael Owusu. Now, Dr. Michael Owusu, I think we lost Dr. Michael Owusu on the line. We lost Dr. Michael Osu on the line. He'll be joining us to explain a few things to us because we need some clarity on some of the things that we have talked about this morning, plus the new measures that are about to be rolled out or to be introduced as to whether indeed it would help us manage our situation better. But South Africa is the country that was able to identify this new
And Botswana.
And it's because of what they use, what they call the genome sequencing or something. That is how come they were able to pick it. And we have all heard and read about some countries, placing bans on people traveling from South Africa to their country. And South Africa, for example, is saying that instead of you applauding us and tapping us on the back to tell us that we've done a great job, here you are, you're rather, punishing us. And so that conversation is still ongoing, and many people are concerned about it. But again, looking at our situation, and I'll come back to that shortly. I'm told that we have Dr. Michael Osu on the line. He's a virologist with the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research into Tropical Medicine. He's a lecturer with the Department of Medical Diagnostics, KNUST, and also Director, Center for Health System Strengthening, Kumasi. Doc, good morning to you, and thanks very much for joining us. Hello, Doc.
David.
Yes, Dr. Michael Osu, good morning.
David, you have the wrong Michael Osu. This is lawyer.
Oh, is that so? All right. All right, lawyer, thanks for alerting us that we have the wrong Michael Osu, because myself, when I heard the voice, I realized that it wasn't the Michael Osu I was hoping to speak to. So we'll get Dr. Michael Osu on the line to give us some education. But in your estimation, this new measure, and I'm talking about the fact that some people are supposed to take the vaccine, and we're talking about students, we're talking about commercial drivers, we're talking about the mates of these commercial drivers, we're talking about people in government institutions, we're talking about security persons and health workers and all that. From where you sit, do you think it's something that would help us make headway in fighting this COVID-19?
Oh, sure, it should. And David, for me, listening to Dr. Patrick Kumaba, you can sense that now government is sitting up. And David, I've always said that we shouldn't wait for COVID to strike again. Because, David, the devastation is not just for government and your revenue streams, but private people and businesses. Now, when you talk about the various government institutions that are going to be mandated to take the vaccine, now we have about 650,000 based on what the finance minister said recently when speaking on entrepreneurship, public sector workers. Let's even assume that even 10% of them get vaccine. That is 65,000. At least. Now, David, we also have schools and everything. And this morning, I was telling you that imagine we say that there's a requirement for those maybe going to be admitted into our universities and all that. Actually, the students will take it, because when you go there, you are going to fraternize and socialize with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And when you see the rooms these universities have, small cubicles for 4 people.
For 4 people.
So we can start from there.
Hold on for me. Now I think we have the right person we're looking for, Dr. Michael Osu. Like I said, he's a virologist, Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research into Tropical Medicine. He's a lecturer with the Department of Medical Diagnostics, KNUST, and also Director, Center for Health System Strengthening, Kumasi. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, David.
All right, so this is the voice I know and the voice I was looking for. So, Doc, we'll be talking about the new measures, that government intends to roll out, especially when we are told that we'll be hearing from the Minister for Health this morning, launching the December as a vaccination month. But what can you tell us about this new variant we hear of, this Omicron? What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, David, good morning to all your listeners. If you remember, when this COVID started, some of us made mention that we will be seeing changes in the nature and the characteristics of this virus, and that is how it's going to be for many years to come, just like we have for the influenza virus. If you also remember, we mentioned that the virus has about 30,000 nucleotides. It's very long and it's very prone to changes. It's built up like blocks. So almost every 2 months, 1 or 2 blocks are replaced. If they are not replaced, they could be deleted from the system, or sometimes they could adapt. And the virus does this in a way to enable it to survive. So just like human beings want to live and prolong our lives, the virus also wants to live and survive. It doesn't want to be defeated in a way, or it doesn't want to just die off from the world. So this is what they do, so that they will be able to live long and have generations of themselves also grow. So the first alpha, that came, we had about 8 changes that occurred in the virus, which we call the alpha strain. And then this was what caused the first wave and gave rise to the beta, which is also from South Africa. And that also had about 8 to 9 changes in the amino acids in the strand. And then along the line, the virus thought that this time is becoming weaker, so it had to go through another change and resulted in the gamma, which was mainly in South Africa, South America, and North America. That also gave about 10 amino acid changes. And then we came to Delta from UK, which resulted about 12 to about 14 changes in the strand of the virus. So this Omicron, as your colleague said, which was announced by WHO on the 4th of November, is a bit different. What it does is that it has about 32 amino acid changes, almost double that of Delta, which is making a lot of scientists very much worried. And the difficulty is that it has acquired some mutations that will enable it to escape antibody evasion from vaccines, which will mean that it has a potential of causing a reduction in the efficacy of vaccines. And in this, I also have to mention it that a lot of the variants occurring, it doesn't mean the vaccines will not work against them, but then it's able to reduce the level of potency of the vaccine. So, for instance, a vaccine is supposed to be, let's say, 99% protective. If you are giving the vaccine, you have an opportunity of not becoming infected by the variant. But some of the variants can reduce this level to about 60%, others can do 70%, others can reduce to about 50%. So if you have monitored alpha, beta, and gamma, most of the vaccines used to do well against them. But for Delta, some of the vaccines have reduced the efficacy to about 70%, which is why many are going for double doses and then triple doses so that you can boost your system. So it looks like, although this is under investigation, it looks like Omicron may cause many more to now recommend for an additional dose of the vaccines we are taking, so that we'll be able to have such a robust system against the virus. So it's not strange to have this Omicron. The same South Africa is what came out with the beta, and then now we have the Omicron, and you cannot really tell whether it's going to cause severe disease or death, like we saw with the Delta in India. But it has a potential of causing another massive wave across the world. Whether you protect your borders or not, this virus will enter through every part of the country and succeed in achieving its wave until it settled or is satisfied before it will go down. But like I mentioned, it may not result in severe disease. It may be a normal, moderate illness. But you cannot tell. It depends on the population characteristics and the nature of the people. In Africa, we seem to do well against these variants, like we have learned from Delta. Many parts of Africa did not suffer that dire consequences that people like India and some of the Asian countries suffered. So, although you cannot tell, you can already predict that the outcome of this may not, or the impact may not be that much compared to what other Western Europeans will face. But it all depends on us. If we're able to ramp up our vaccination and we are able to get as many people as possible go and work with these protocols, we may not experience any huge impact. It may just come and go like a normal respiratory virus with moderate illness. But if we don't pay attention to some of this, then of course, it's going to take hold of us. And just to mention, the reason why vaccination is important is that South Africans are recording. They now have about over 2,000 new infections on a daily basis, which is due to this new variant. And most of the infections, about 65% of them, are occurring among those that are not vaccinated or those that are partially or half vaccinated. So that is the alarming. And most of them are between their 20s and 30s. So it's a young population that seems to be driving this Omicron across different parts of South Africa. And that is why I think that this strategy by the ministry is very important. Because if it's able to cause moderate to severe disease in young population, and the young population are not willing to vaccinate, then you are likely to see many of them becoming sick if we don't help them to get themselves protected.
And again, this, like the many others, also, infect people when it comes to movement. So it's about movement of human beings that transmit or get people infected. Now, we have heard for calls, for vigilance at, KIA, that is Akuetteh International Airport, which of course Dr. Patrick Kumar-Boaji assures us of. But is that enough to, let's say, try as much as possible to prevent this new variant from entering our country?
David, if you have monitored the way these viruses behave, it is good to put in the best of mechanisms in terms of testing and ensuring that people don't come to your country with the variant. But you can't stop it. No country can stop a new variant from penetrating. What you do is that you, as much as possible, prevent people from coming in to give you space and time to be able to put in all your surveillance measures, multiple strategies, get your hospitals well equipped, get your staff well educated and trained, put in logistics at all parts so that if you get to your peak wave or if it begins to rise up, you can deal with it. If you have 100 people coming in with Omicron, with the strategy we have, 1 or 2 will escape. And when 1 or 2 escape, eventually they will get to the system. It's only a matter of time, and this may end up in another wave altogether. So, we have to do our best like we are doing, and Ghana is doing very well to try to test and to put in all the systems in place to prevent people from coming in like we are doing. But a lot depends on the citizens. I think the vaccination is the sure way to go. You can't stop the virus, but then if you get vaccinated, you can prevent the virus from achieving its worst impact on the people.
And there are some countries that have also, gone back into lockdown. There are some countries that have also introduced some restriction of travels from some other countries and stuff like that. Some works are being done. Here in Ghana, we're told that the month of December is going to be declared as the vaccination month. What do you make of that?
David, I'm quite happy when I heard this from the Director General, and we need to commend the government as well for making available close to about 12 million vaccines for the population. If you look at the Public Health Act, 2012 Act 851, it mandates government to put in measures to ensure that the public is safe. And there are sections on vaccination, actually on compulsory vaccination, that says that the minister may, by executive instrument or generally or with reference to a particular district, area or place, with respect to a particular class or classes of people, order the persons to whom the instrument applies who do not satisfactory evidence of successful vaccination to be vaccinated by a public vaccinator, unless in the opinion of the public vaccinator the vaccination would be injurious to the health. So the minister can compel or can cause a place or put in measures to ensure that people are vaccinated. And it's a whole section in the Act. And I think this is important to protect all of us. It's not as if people are being forced to vaccinate, but then place the services that people, will have to make use of. Or if you are employed by government agencies can say that if you want to continue working with me, then of course you have to get yourself vaccinated. And if we don't do that, now vaccines cost $14, some up to $29. Imagine you have over 10 million vaccines, each is $29, and people don't make use of this, it gets expired. Then it's a financial loss to the country. And David, for me as a virologist, the danger is that for those that don't get vaccinated and for those that are partially vaccinated, this population can contribute to more mutations of the virus. So you will have mutations come from these groups of people spread across the country and begin to infect even people that believe that they are fully vaccinated. So you can't just say, I am fine, so let me go and sit back and do my work. But if your colleague does not do what is right, he will become a source of danger for everybody. That is why I think measures like this is very important. Once the vaccines are available, people must be able to take this and then protect themselves. If it's not available, then you have a reason to say that you can't force me not to attend the program because there are no vaccines. But if the vaccines are available, then we don't have a choice. We have to take this and to ensure that everybody is protected.
And we know that he made mention of specific group of people who are supposed to take the vaccine. He talked about commercial drivers and their mates. He talked about students. He talked about those in the tertiary institutions. He talked about security persons, health workers, government institutions, and many others. Now, and here we are. They are mandated to take the vaccine when that measure rolls out. And he again says that they're taking the vaccine to the people. Knowing our level of vaccine hesitancy, how do we deal with this? Yes, you might say that it's mandated for them to take it. Yes, you might be taking it out to the people, but there's vaccine hesitancy out there. How do we deal with it to ensure that people would be comfortable and okay to just receive it, even when it comes to their doorsteps?
Yes, David, if you remember when this COVID came, some of us made a proposal that if it comes to education and educating people, it's not just about the work of public health practitioners or government agencies, but the religious bodies, the chiefs, the community leaders. If you go to the market tomato leaders, sellers, and various groupings of people and leaders are supposed to contribute and to help to get this to the people. I mean, for the intellectual communities like health workers and even for tertiary schools and all that, there are structures in place for the school authorities to use to educate. But when you move down to the ordinary people, that are not so much organized and don't seem to have a way of getting some of this information channeled to them, who may want to understand this in their local language to be able to relate to it. These, to me, are the critical people that we have to look at and to see how best to reach out to them. So, once we are coming up with this program of vaccination in the month of December, it should go along with education and to appeal to the conscience of people to be able to support all of us so that they will make use of it. It's not going to be easy, but I think that we should be able to do it. And the groupings are very important. Health workers, for instance, that this is a respiratory virus, and health workers or health facilities are primary zones that could become hotspots even for transmission of the virus to the population. So it is strange if somebody is a health worker and the person is not vaccinated and the person harbors or carries any of the strains of this virus, he could easily transmit to innocent, weak, and people who are more vulnerable become infected. So that place is one of the key places that I think the Director General considered very well in coming out with this. And we also mentioned that students, young populations, are beginning to suffer from these strains that are evolving. So if we want to continue with our educational system, ensure that students go to school, we don't lock down and cause people to stay home like has happened before, then of course students are another group that you have to look closely at. If you don't deal with them and then the school reopens and they get sick and all that, you'll be forced to close down schools, which is something that doesn't help. And for that, the teachers, the school authorities, the headmasters, the university administrators have a role to play. And I know that many of them have set up focal groups for COVID with even student COVID leaders who have been educated well about this. And I hope that they'll be able to support. The drivers, the commercial drivers and the public transport drivers and all that, that area I know is not going to be easy. If you remember, David, even when it comes to drivers and their mates putting on masks and also advising their passengers to also put on masks, it was difficult. You take your trotro, many of them seem to feel that everything is fine. I'm not sure how best we can deal with it, but I know they have unions, the GPRTUs and other bodies are there that help to bring some sort of, to regulate and also to speak to these groups. I think we should be able to target the leaders and educate them appropriately and then help them, because if a driver and his mate decide not to put on mask and they are also not vaccinated, they pose danger to many of the passengers because they'll be moving people up and down. And you know that this is, as they do this, they by all means will cause transmission of these viruses to move around. So I think in as much as we have this December being the month of vaccination, the strategy in reaching out to people, especially ordinary people that do not understand the English, the big English we are speaking, don't know what is Omicron and don't know what is Alpha and Beta. For all they know, all they just to go and do their work and get their daily income and then move on with their lives. These are people that I believe we should look at closely and have a way of dealing with them, involving social scientists to communicate in a way that they will understand, so that they can all run along with us.
So what about this no proof of vaccination, no entry into, let's say, places like, restaurants where you want to go and sit in and eat, beaches, the sports stadium, the nightclubs and co. Can we really enforce this?
David, we have to enforce it. I mean, if we want to deal with this virus, deal with evolving strains of the virus, and then enable economic activities to run through and move through this country smoothly, we have no choice. And we are not the only country. Many developed countries, which are very sophisticated, have all the good health systems in place, well specialized health professionals are doing this. So for a country that we don't manufacture vaccines, I mean, our science laboratories are not so sophisticated, logistics are not easily available. We rely mostly on developed countries with some of these equipment and reagents to get going. So we are the people that should rather put in some of these measures and enforce it in our people. But I know you are saying this because of the difficulties we've had over a couple of months ago during the lockdowns and even after the lockdowns when beaches, it was announced people should not go, people will find a way of going. Churches where people should not have large gatherings and prayer groups, people were having it, others were arrested. So I think it's going to be a challenge, but I believe that the security will put in measures and to ensure that at least for December and January, once the vaccines are available, we get many people vaccinated and at least put in some of these things to as a form of deterrent, so that those who want to really go and visit these places will get themselves vaccinated. And then the idea for this is not just to deny people from accessing it, but it is like a warning sign and an awareness. So once you are told that you are not vaccinated, don't visit the mall, you become aware. And it dawns on you that, hey, so I have to get myself doing something. So it is an indirect way of telling people that, look, we are still not out of this COVID yet. And therefore, vaccination and all the protocols are very important. So if you don't do this, then you find yourself in difficulty. I didn't hear about the mall, but I think the mall is one place that many people visit. And it would be good and nice that some of these business organizations will also emulate what government is doing.
Indeed, Patrick Kumabwaji, during his engagement with the press, made mention of the fact that some financial institutions and other places could also enforce some of these things. So I'm sure that for the malls and other places like that, they would also be able to enforce this. Doc, hold the line for me. Don't leave us yet. Let's invite our listeners in. 0322083596. Join us now. If you have any question for Dr. Michael Owusu, he's on the line and he will give you an answer to that question. Again, what do you make of this December, the month of December being made a month of vaccination where people are supposed to go and get vaccinated? And also the fact that if you have not been vaccinated, there are places you cannot go to. And that's also coming up shortly, that there are places you cannot visit, you cannot go to if you have not been vaccinated. And they make mention of places like the restaurants. If you go to the restaurant and you want to sit and eat, you cannot. If you have not been vaccinated, go there. 0322083596. You can join us now and let's have your take on the conversation. Again, nightclubs. We're talking about, sports stadium. We're talking about the beaches. Once you have not been vaccinated, you cannot go to these places. And again, if you have a ward in any of the secondary schools right now, there's a mandate for them to go out there and get themselves vaccinated. How do you feel about it? Let's talk about this as Ghanaians, as one people. Now, give us a call on 0322083596. Dr. Michael Owusu is still on the line, and he's going to stay with us a while longer. So give us a call. Who do we have on the line? Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning, David. How are you, sir?
Yes, Chris, welcome. Let's hear you.
David, good show. I want to commend you guys for the awareness. South Africa, I don't know, because of the different nationals over there, like this variant always comes from there and all that. But David, disease prevention department people, some of them are not vaccinated. Nurses, they are not vaccinated. Undoubted. So we want to see them being vaccinated, and that will serve as a prototype. I mean, that will serve as a model, an example for me, who is not a health worker. And these are things we are saying too. We can't force people to be vaccinated. Let's dialogue with them. Let's tell them the dangers and the concomitant effects of not being vaccinated. And somebody was asking me, said, if after the vaccination I will still have to be wearing my nose mask around, then what is the essence of being vaccinated? Because there are a lot of theories about this whole thing, blah, blah, blah. But
so Dr. Michael, take note of that. People are still wondering, why should I take the vaccine and still follow the safety protocols?
Yes.
So you respond to that for us, Dr. Michael Usu.
Yes, David, then finally, I think there should be something like a date, like when you come to vaccinated, they'll give you something, some 50 cities. And I believe that will push the people. Oh, yes.
Thanks, Christoph. You're talking about incentives. In South Africa, a similar thing is happening where Henry Rand also is giving. Thanks, Christoph, for joining us. Lawrence, good morning. Hello, Lawrence.
Good morning, Dave.
Yes, Lawrence, good morning and welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Dave, we had Dr. Patrick.
Point in time, but how you manage it to make sure it doesn't get out of hand is what really matters. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, David.
And welcome, Peter.
And good morning to all your listeners. Please, I wanted to know from Dr. Usu that those who had already been infected with the virus, do they have some form of immunity against the virus?
So, Peter, he's going to answer that question for you, okay?
And also, if they have some immunity, then since the vaccines are in short supply, why don't we test that form of immunity? Then we can do the vaccination for those who are yet to be infected.
All right, Peter, thanks for joining us. You're talking about immunity once you have gotten the infection before. 03-220-83596. You can also join us. We're having this conversation on new measures that are being rolled out to help fight the COVID-19. Join us on 03-220-83596. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Dave.
Welcome, sir.
Great. You know, honestly speaking, I've been championing and advocating that people should be taking the vaccine.
Okay.
But taking the vaccines alone can't prevent the viral infection. You know, most people are very reluctant, relying on the vaccine or taking the vaccine so that I can live any opulent lifestyle. I can eat anything that I want. I will engage myself in healthy lifestyle. You know, one thing that I'll urge our medical practitioners, I'm also in the field, I'll urge them, they should start advocating. As we have channeled most of the energy on advising people to be taking their vaccine, that people should start living a healthy lifestyle, being physically active, engaging yourself in exercise, eating well, avoiding stress. You know, all these aspects will help boost people's immunity rather than always rely on the vaccines alone.
I hear you. Well, thank you very much, sir. And that's why we're encouraged to continue observing the safety protocols, as is still very, very essential. And I like what you said, Michael. No wonder you happen to be in the health sector. 03-220-83596. David.
David.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Let's hear you, sir.
Good. David, what about this, our local organic vaccine that people made videos of it, put it on the platforms, social media. I'm talking about this, our ginger, our fintia, our pepper.
The neem tree, and all those things.
Exactly. When we were at the peak of this variant or whatever it is, and people were doing these things, and there were testimonies that they were being healed. Why can't we also, how do I even put it? Push for these local vaccines, let me put it that way, doctor, so that we also do it here.
to boost our immunity.
So the question is, have we researched into it to ascertain for ourselves whether indeed it works?
We should also research into it. Let our people, let us try and boost their morale to research into it and give it to us. And let us also take, because that's what some of us relied on. I remember last year.
I hear you. And David, you know what? Because of you today, I'm going to have a very fat lunch, because today is one of the days you've spoken well for Ghana. Thank you very much, David, for joining us. All right, my brother. Nana Akuetteh joins us next. Nana, good morning.
Good morning, Manchester.
Adromoso.
I don't understand something. And I don't know if the NC is working or not. The reason why I'm asking the question is that there are certain people, pastors who are going on radio stations advocating that the
vaccine
is not good, blah, 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 something. In fact, I don't want to repeat it. And the whole thing is that they are inciting others not to take the vaccine. And I wonder why the NC is there. And in fact, as of for the party, are you more Christian than the Pope? Yeah, one of Bible, Bible, the Bible prayer in Ghana. Are we more holier than the Pope? And then the NC sits down, and then people advocating that people shouldn't be taking the drugs. And in fact, I ask such people, the same killer disease that you allow your kids to be taken, is it not the same vaccines, polio and those kind of things? And please, this vaccine is there. People have been asking, why if I take it, why is it that it doesn't, I don't get something that immunized or something against it for future occurrence. Please, go to abroad. Go to abroad. Every year, they take it. Immunization against cold vaccines, they take it every year, and it does happen every year because it does happen. So if we are being asked to take and protect ourselves, why do we have to be using Christianity, certain things to please the vaccine? Everyone should go for it. Well, I also advocate, much as we are saying everyone should go for it and advising it, they shouldn't let it be something like by force. They shouldn't enforce it, because in America right now, I don't want to put it there because you've got to tend to put my head about it. But please, everyone should go for the vaccine.
I hear you. Nana Akuetteh, thanks for joining us. And we are enjoying your voice notes you've sent in. We'll be sharing those voice notes in a bit, but you can send in more. We have a little time. You know, there's this big interview coming up here at 8:30 with Dr. Kwabena Dufour. It's at 8:30, so we need to be wrapping up shortly. But send us more voice notes, 055-1111-995. And also, we would like to take a call more to 03220-83596. George, good morning.
Good morning, David. How are you?
I am well, George. Good to have you.
David, we are relaxing so much, like the COVID even does not exist. David, the other day I was going to Tafo, and the trotro I board, no one was wearing nose masks. Nobody, I was the only one. When I was coming, if you go to town, nobody, only some few people, you can count them. You see? So we are not hearing anything. I went to a ceremony at Kwadaso, a graduation ceremony, and the pastor who was preaching, he said everybody should greet 7 people for blessing. Everybody. And when I folded my hands and I was looking. When they finished, the people were greeting, hand in hand. And after that, he said they should do 3 more because blessing is coming. And no one was even wearing nose masks. So, David, we are not hearing anything. We must be up and doing. And we should also make it that if you don't have the vaccine, you will not even allow in church. So that it will help us, David, all have the vaccination for our safety. Thank you, David.
Well, thank you very much also for joining us on the phone lines. Dr. Michael Lewis, who's still on the phone lines, there are a few questions for him to address before, we wrap up. But for now, we'd like to bring to you some of the voice notes that has come through, beginning with this one.
Yeah, thank you for the good job you are doing and the dedication you are showing to telling the Ghanaians. I'm in Germany, and the vaccine is very, very important for the people to take it, and the measures they are bringing is very, very important. Even in Germany now, before you go to work, you have to show your vaccine card so that they can put record on it. and even a lot of places like nightclubs and activities like football and all these things, you have to show your card. So I'm thinking that if they add workplaces to it too, they do it compulsory. If you don't want to if you don't want the vaccine, you have to do tests two times a week, so that it will help the people. Because if you don't take it and I come to your workplace and I get infected from it's not good. So I think it's a good measures, and they have to add workplaces to it.
Indeed, if you listen to, and thanks very much for listening to us all the way in Germany, and also for sending us your voice notes. We're glad to have heard from you. Keep sending us voice notes on a daily basis. But here, yes, we've been told that workplaces, leaders, their owners of businesses should encourage people to also go for the vaccine and, of course, observe the protocols as well. Let's bring to our listeners another voice note. What is the person saying?
Good morning, Mr. David, and to Eugene Oseti too. Thank you very much for this opportunity for some of us to contribute our quota to the vaccination program in Ghana. Actually, there is one thing that our leaders don't always understand. You are trying to enforce this vaccination program by restricting people to go and buy things. So you think that if I'm going to a restaurant to spend or to buy or to sleep there, the manager or the receptioner would not allow me to enter, or the security people will stop me from entering? What are we doing?
So good question you asked there. But the point is this: if we are all going to be each other's keeper, knowing what it is we have on hand, knowing what we're dealing with, and we would all be responsible, would win at the end of the day. That's all I would say to that. Let's bring you one more voice note.
Dave, good morning. To me, I don't know against the vaccine, but mine is just a question. Why first and second vaccine?
All right, so he has a question. And Dr. Michael Owusu, let's start with this voice note. He says, why do we need to take 2 jabs?
Yes, David, so the essence of the vaccine is to enable you mount some antibody to a certain threshold level that will help you withstand against reinfection or infection, or possibly even if you are infected, not to suffer severe disease or death. So it is possible in the next couple of years, every year, like for influenza viruses in the U.S., you will have to take additional booster doses so that you can keep your antibody level at a certain threshold. If it goes down, you want it to come up so that you can be well protected. This is why we go for first, second shot.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if you go for third shot next year or fourth shot every year. It's something that happens across.
And Doc, if you can, please, as much as possible, use, let's say, 20 to 30 seconds to respond to the questions for me. There was another question about whether once you get an infection, you have an immunity built against the virus.
Yes, David, you have some level of immunity built, but for how long? This is the question. What we know is that for about 3 to 6 months, your immune level will begin to wane. So you become susceptible to reinfection. So the fact that you have been infected before, give yourself 4 or 5 months. If you are exposed again to somebody who has the virus,
you still will get it. Why are we still supposed to wear the nose mask, or let's say follow the protocols, although we've received the vaccine?
Yes. So I heard one of your callers made this statement that if you want to address some of these pandemic situations, you don't want to look at only one way or one strategy, but it's complementary. So vaccines plus protocols, mask and everything, this is the added effect that enables you to achieve a certain target from a population level. So if you decide to only go for vaccines and you don't put on mask, you still have a risk of becoming or exposing some people to infection. If you reach herd immunity, like many of the developed countries, and you are sure 70% of your targeted population are vaccinated, then you can open up, which is what some countries did, and then see how the situation will go. But we have not achieved that level yet, so it's a risk. to say that if you have 1 million people, 100 of them have vaccinated, everybody should take off his mask. It's going to be difficult. You cannot control or manage this.
What about some things that some people say they used and it helped them, like the neem tree, the ginger, the winter, and all that? Have you done any work on them to ascertain the truth or otherwise of it?
David, I know there are works being done. You know, KNUST, led by the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Ellis, is leading a team that is looking at the Nimimba plant as a form of drug that could prevent either infection or severe disease or death. More of a case control study in Ghana. So I'm sure that very soon their findings will come up. And this is one of the novel works being done in Ghana that will help us know some of the natural products we have and to use. I also know CSIR and other institutions are looking at some of these plans that have been mentioned to see how best we work within our local setting. So hopefully it takes some time. You know, research takes time to build evidence that can stand the test of time. So I'm sure that when this evidence becomes available, it will be shared with the public.
I hear you.
PA will come out to announce this.
And I also hope and pray that, I would focus a bit of attention on some of the pastors who are preaching negativity about the vaccine and also not encouraging people to observe the protocols. I think that we need to find time and do something about it. But looking at our situation and, of course, the fact that many of us are not observing the protocols, and do this for me in 30 seconds, Doctor. With Christmas around the corner, do you foresee another upsurge somewhere in 2022?
I hope we don't get there because I'm not happy. I myself, if we have to get through this wave of virus infections, it puts a lot of stress on almost every sector of this economy and puts those of us in the testing facilities also under huge stress, educational institutions and all that. So it depends on us, David, which is why I'm happy we are all educating the public. If we are able to manage this well, we can go through this safely and then enjoy our Christmas and then go through next year and continue with our programs. But if people don't take some of these things we are saying seriously and ignore government's intervention in terms of vaccines and decide to behave the way we behave, then, just as the Delta, Delta started from somewhere, Christmas entered in, and then it resulted in the third wave. It is very possible that the Omicron may find its way. And talking about Omicron, David, one thing I didn't mention is that there's a difference between detecting a virus and finding the origin of a virus. Many people are confused about that. So South Africa has detected the virus, but South Africa may not be the origin, may not be the place where the virus originated from. So it is possible many countries already have the Omicron, except that they have not yet identified or detected it. In Germany, the case they had is a case that is not linked to any travel history. So it is something that came right from the community. They don't know how it came. So I wouldn't be surprised if already you may have one or two people that we have not. It hasn't gotten to the level where we'll be able to detect.
I hear you, Dr. Michael Osu.
So that is why we have
Thank
to
you.
manage some of these very well, so that we don't put our people in danger.
I hear you, sir. I'm glad that you made time to be with us, Dr. Michael Osu. We're grateful to you. And in a while, there's going to be a conversation with Dr. Kwabena Dufour, former finance minister and former governor, Bank of Ghana. That interview is slated to begin at 8:30. Stay with us because we'll be joining the feed for that conversation in a bit. Meanwhile, Japan Motors has great news for you this month. Get your Nissan vehicles inspected by their certified technicians for